Jacob Lion fan, simp, than that we've seen, you know? So there you go, yeah. It's a beautiful game ahead of us. I don't know why I used the descriptive word of beautiful, because, I mean, it might be scrappy, it might be messy, it could be beautiful, we don't know that yet. But yeah, the Atlanta Rain versus the Houston Outlaws, I'm anticipating it to be a very, very close back and forth match between both of these teams. I mean, both of them kind of, well, at least the Atlanta Rain experimenting with a lot of different looks as well, but they both have a very solid, I think, grasp of the current metagame as well, and how to play it on a macro level. They both looked very impressive. And so who's going to take this? I mean, this, in my mind, Josh, you putting forward that question of who do you think the best team in NA is, you can make an argument that this might be one of the matches that, you know, we're going to look back on at the tail end of the Countdown Cup and think, wow, this was actually kind of a bit of a preview.
Very possibly, but at the moment, I think my question was unfair because we just simply don't have enough data yet. I just wanted to throw it out to see if anyone bit, and Custer did. He gave me an answer, but it really is far too early to be able to tell. But I like his look towards the Houston Outlaws because they did play a very disciplined style. They looked fantastically coordinated in terms of how they positioned their backline in particular and the way they approached the game, but they were given so much time and space to do that by Washington. Atlanta are not going to give them the time and space. They're an aggressive team, and I have been very impressed with their flexibility.
Let's take a look at the Atlanta Rain starters and who they're going to be fielding today. It's going to be some typical faces here. No Kai in the lineup, Edison instead for this opening map.
And that is a little different, right? Because they were running Kai for the majority, if not all of the maps yesterday. I can't exactly remember, but I think Kai was in for the vast majority of that 5-map series. And he was flexing between playing long-range hit scan like the Soldier 76 and playing Tracer. And we haven't really seen Kai's Tracer that much in the league. He's been a hit scan player in the league for a long time, but we haven't really seen how good his Tracer was. Edison is the normal Tracer player, so I'm anticipating them to come out with that pick. But Edison also in the past, when you've watched him in contenders, has been phenomenal playing, for example, Sombra. So there are just 1,000 different ways that the Atlanta Rain roster could approach a map. They're really working this stage on their flexibility.
On the other side of things, let's take a look at the Houston Outlaws and who they're rolling out with this time, and I believe it's going to be pretty similar. Yeah, it is to the lineup, with the one exception being Dreamer's not in. Django is as well. That was another little change around. We were kind of trying to theory craft, Josh, during the series, you know, the reasoning behind it. But this is going back to, you know, the pre-existing synergy that Django and Piggy bring to this roster with their tank line.
And I'm still thinking perhaps Dreamer was in to play the Winston. The map that we're about to play doesn't really necessitate Winston being played, but maybe if we head later on in the series and we get to a map, I don't even know, most of the maps that we're playing in this series actually are pretty favorable for Wrecking Ball or even Orisa compositions, so it seems unlikely to me that Dreamer will come back in, but you never know. It really is the beginning of a meta, and these teams are dabbling with stuff. But just to return to Custer's point for a moment, Houston Outlaws have not showcased a large amount of variety in terms of what they're playing. As we head to Nepal here, I'm very interested to see if they have a good answer for these Orisa-based comps that the Atlanta Rain has liked to go for. Is the Atlanta Rain even going to play Orisa comps with Kai out if he can't play, you know, the Soldier 76 or the other long-range hit scan picks that he was going for? There's still so many questions about how different styles interact in the Countdown Cup.
Yeah, there certainly are, and I'm left wondering, why is Jake's background, what do you even call it, backdrop, why is it a different design to everybody else? He's got a very special one.
Yeah, because he's a coach as well, so the coaches have different backdrops.
Oh, okay, I see.
He's on a completely different contract, you wouldn't understand, you know.
It's all above my head, above my pay grade.
Yeah. He got a 50% equity in the Houston Outlaws in order to join. You know, that's how they lured him back in. He sees it as a long-term investment.
I wouldn't be surprised. They unretired his jersey. You know, took it off the wall. Gave it back to him.
Broke the glass frame with the emergency hammer. We need Jake back. Are we going to see a Farah here? We have seen a little bit of Farah being played on Nepal Sanctum before. It feels like it's punishable, definitely, because the Farah has to play within range of a lot of hit scan options, but the Houston Outlaws have not been playing too many of them. We've got a BAP Brig backline, sorry, a BAP Zen backline for the Houston Outlaws, which does indicate to me that they're expecting some kind of Farah pick. They have a lot of poke.
They do have a ton of poke, yeah. See how it works out here. Farah on this particular section of Nepal as well is it's pretty good. You can hide around a lot of these angles. You can see them. I mean, he's not giving them many avenues to try and shoot them down. Got to still stay out of line of sight there. Yeah, definitely just beaming him down. All this going on, though. Django's going to get taken out by Edison, who chased him down, and that opening pick for the Atlanta Reign is definitely going to open things up for them now. They're starting to apply a bit of pressure now to the point. Piggy falling very, very low, almost getting demeched in the process, just backing away for a bit of heals. Still no one in control of this point just yet. Just a bit of a slow kind of squeeze on the Houston Outlaws as they're trying to take this map control and pressure them out. Happy as well, just trying to search for those angles.
How on earth? I mean, Django has... I'm trying to think of a politer word than turbo-fed at the beginning of both of these fights. And yet the Houston Outlaws have just stayed in control the entire time. They were the ones that flipped the point early on. Django's been hit by these Bionades and just been taken out. Now a Nano Boost comes in from Pelican. He's at 80%. Hasn't been able to do all the damage in the world here, but he is going to feast on that pile driver.
Yeah, absolutely. The rockets, I mean, it's easy pickings as well. Sent straight up into the air. And yeah, the one ultimate invested, I should say. That's Iris using that Nano Boost just to close it out and eventually flipping it back over. But you're right, yeah, Django being the first death both times.
And yet the Outlaws got control of the objective. Piggy could not be killed. He was still just hanging around on the objective, and the Atlanta Reign couldn't find opportunities. Part of that is because Atlanta don't have access to a Discord orb, whereas the Outlaws do. Django dead again, this time to a barrage. They are really focusing on taking him out first.
Yeah, if you lose your Wrecking Ball player, you currently do not have a lot of space creation tools. And you can see the Houston Outlaws, I mean, they're just playing really far back. They can't really commit into this. Will take too much space. Piggy now just starting to play up onto the point as Django comes back in.
That's so much
the
damage.
Amplification Matrix with the Tactical Visor! It doesn't help, though. Oh my goodness, the Stab Destruct straight over the top. Pelican getting rezzed up, but Iris falls. Only Massa alive on the Atlanta Reign to supply the heals necessary to take this team fight a little bit further forward. Hawk as well, just trying to dodge and juke using the boosters to go up to the high ground here. Just trying to push them off of him as well, as Dante's just trying to mark him. Waiting for that health back, almost up, but just going to wait round the corner. 70% and counting for the Atlanta Reign, but they're slowly losing their tanks as well, taking a lot of damage in the process. Bit of a whiffed pulse bomb from Dante, but it's not going to matter too much as they do end up flipping the point anyway.
Piggy is just the immortal diva, sat on the point, on the objective, despite the fact that all of his team is dying around him. He continues to be this anchor presence on the objective that stops the Atlanta Reign from being able to shift them off and win the team fight. Big changes now as well, as the Reign move over away from the Pharah, putting Pelican onto the Sombra. Either of their DPS players can play Sombra, so wouldn't be surprised to see them change it around. Django's been the first pick in a lot of these scenarios. He has mines now.
The Atlanta Reign are really quite grouped up, honestly. Nano Boost onto Gator as well, leading it in with the power driver. Trying to go onto the backline. They force out the Immortality Field very early on, and with that extra damage, Crimzo ends up falling. The counter engage comes out from the Houston Owls. You can see Edison's just trying to mark the adversary, as Dante will eventually get taken out here. Django just rolling in. Edison has spotted one of his players, has the pulse bomb in hand. Is he just going to let it rip? Might opt to try and use it. Falling very low, going to be dropping it onto the ground. Django hacked up. Quick little dash to the side there as well, just making him nice and safe. Self-destruct onto the point though from Piggy, but he's already fallen, so not going to be able to get back into that mech. But the Houston Outlaws still in control of this one, Josh. It hasn't been flipped over yet to the Atlanta Reign.
But it seems like an inevitability. They are going to flip it right now. Happy's Tac Visor is not enough, and Jake was just a little too late with his Immortality Field there. He threw it out to try and keep Piggy alive so that he could get back into the mech, and it was a full second or two too late. Now a lot of pressure on the Outlaws. They're going to swap over Happy on the Cowboy, and the Atlanta Reign come in. Or the Atlanta Reign, sorry, are defending here with an EMP. This is going to be very difficult. I think he's trying to bait the Transcendence there out of Crimzo. They must think he has it.
Crimzo, though, obviously 10% away. Doesn't have it for this fight. Overtime going. They need to start committing some players, actually, to the point to keep this overtime rolling. Django's falling very, very low. The EMP only catches onto Dante. Is anybody going to be able to follow up on that kill? No, Dante is healthy. He's got his team to back him up. The rally. Engage comes through. Have a lot of armor supplementing them. The Atlanta Reign's trying to stay into this, but there are only 3 players up here. They're just going to give this one up. They realize that the team fight's over. A bit of a sloppy engage there from Pelican with that EMP.
Yeah, what a whiff in terms of the communication of Crimzo's ultimate charge, but also the actual execution of the ult. A solo EMP onto Dante is fine if you immediately punish him, but you've got to understand there that he has Transcendence heals as well that are immediately going to come out. Now this is a fairly even fight towards the end. Atlanta do have a lot of ults, but they have to push back in.
They do. They're going to use the mines, though, scattered across the point to push them back and away. Happy.
They found the
trying
Tracer.
to mark his surroundings. They did find the Tracer. As a recall comes through, the overtime almost fading, but Edison finally, that's the post-bomb kill he was looking for. Happy's taken out. Self-destruct off into the corner. They've already taken out Piggy, and now with the point flipped over as well, it's up to the Houston Outlaws to come up big. Dante with 2. Edison trying to match him blow for blow, but Jake with the whip shot, that's taken out. Out of Transcendence, the Atlanta Reign have the heals to try and keep taking this forward, but where's the damage? They need to try and deal with Dante, who's still alive onto this point, getting all the armor packs and the Harmony Orb from afar. Jake falls, though, early on, and we're looking at damage coming from the side. The EMP followed up off onto all of the targets of the Houston Outlaws, completely hacked up. The tank line really not able to do too much now that the support line's taken out. Django is going to fall, and that's going to be the round to the Atlanta Reign.
That was anybody's game up until the very end there, but what a clutch play from Pelican. He gets into the back, kills Crimzo, huge EMP, and the Atlanta Reign sweep the Outlaws off the point. That's as dead even as a round can get. You could argue the Atlanta Reign should have been able to easily clean that out, what, 20, 30 seconds ago? Maybe almost a full minute ago, considering how long the overtime was. After Pelican had that EMP that could have just destroyed everything, but they took their foot off the gas just for a moment, and Houston made it a fairly even round. Let's take a look at the replay here from Pelican's point of view as well. Just gets in a scenario where he can easily snack on Crimzo. The movement just not quite there. The shot's not there as well for Crimzo.
Yeah, and following up with the EMP as well, just to really close things out. Nicely done from them. Well, it's a new round though. And Houston Outlaws be with Dante happy running that Tracer Sombra.
Crimzo Ana here, which is an interesting idea, because normally you'd want the Zen even just to apply Discord Orb onto Pelican and keep him back a little. He gets off the side immediately.
Yeah, that's off the map. I mean, as good as a pick as you're going to get, really, if you're the Atlanta Reign here. You take away one of their healers. No more Bionades coming in as well. Major win conditions going to be gone here for the Houston Outlaws. They're just trying to basically get any picks they can. Somehow Massa ends up going down. That's just Crimzo, I think, just probably aiming as well. He was coming off the spawner. Took him out. Evens it up now, actually, for them to work their way back in here. The Houston Outlaws going to get a bit of control up onto the point. They haven't quite flipped it just yet. Bionade's going to miss. Dante as well, though. Look at this. Just chasing down the back line. He needs some sort of peel as well. The Atlanta Reign got to try and defend him for the time being. Difficult for them though. This plus one being built up and nobody is really marking Dante at all. He's having free range to just do whatever he wants. Just trying to stay alive in the middle of it. Post bomb, what a stick! Dante, just incredible work.
Yeah, that is phenomenal stuff. So well played from Dante in the back. The coordination wasn't quite there between him and Django, but no one on the Atlanta Reign turned around. They were so forward focused the entire time, trying to, I assume, take advantage of the damage that Pelican was doing up towards the front. They had the nano boost onto Hawk as well. Hawk doesn't want to peel while he's nanoed. It's a waste of your extra damage output. But Atlanta's offense got nothing done. And here's where the ult cycle starts to be really good for the Outlaws. They've built the rally and the EMP. Individually, good fight-winning ultimates. Together, this should be easy for them.
Certainly should. Barrage into the back line. That was so unexpected. Suddenly you're looking at the Houston Outlaws to try and win this fight out, but the barrage just deals with Crimzo with Jake falling. There's no more supports up for the Houston Outlaws here. This should have been a done and dusted one team fight, but they were just caught so unaware. Edison with the post bomb, that's going to be the D-Mech. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Might be able to get that as well onto Piggy. There you go. He's not going to be able to get back into the mech despite that, and Dante is caught unaware as Edison just whips around and takes him out.
Huge play from Pelican. It does just change the tide of that fight. And not just that fight, but the ult economy too, because Jake used Rally after Crimzo had died, and Jake was just on his own and got picked off. They are doing a decent job of staggering here. They get a free 20% out of it. The Houston Outlaws, they go up to 60, but the Atlanta Reign are now going to be in control, and Pelican nearly has another barrage. This becomes dangerous. Happy couldn't find himself a good EMP before Pelican had already done damage. If you're playing a Sombra Tracer, you have to try and get value before the Pharah rains damage from above. In longer teamfights, Pelican is always going to win.
Now Happy just trying to set up the CMP. He's going to connect onto 3 targets there. Lancer Rain are hacked up here. Hawk will get demeched, and a nice neutral hack as well. Gator unable to really do anything. Can't roll out of it. It's 2 kills for them. The tank line destroyed. The Lancer Rain not really going to be able to hold on to this one. Another great neutral hack onto Edison. He's not going to be able to go anywhere. So this will be a quick and easy reflip for them.
And a gorgeous adjustment of their focus fire. If you play in ranked games, people will always talk about focus fire, everyone shooting the same target. But there, they started to go onto Iris, realized that was a bad idea, and immediately pivoted to Hawk and Gator. Those kind of on-the-fly calls are what Houston Outlaws was so impressive at when they won their previous series, cleanly, against the Justice.
It's a nice hack, but a nice sleeve comes off at the end of it. A lot of pressure being applied. He needs to try and get this pick, but look at that. The coordination from the Houston Outlaws. Still, they get the peel eventually, and Dante's taken out, and they create space for the Resurrect. So the Atlanta Rain are actually the ones with the advantage in this fight. Mine's going to be dropped off at the choke point here. Pelican needs to be careful, but with the Nano Boost on top, oh, he's feeling empowered. He's going to be slamming the rockets into them there. The Atlanta Rain flipping it over and taking it away from the overtime scenario, but still, from afar, just trying to put in a bit of that damage and a bit of that work for them to work off of. That was the post, my thing connecting regardless, but the barrage on top is going to do the job. Dante, though, back in the fight pretty quickly here, playing off the back of the hacks that Happy's getting, and they are going to be able to flip this now. The Atlanta Rain, they don't have Gator to try and at least get the body onto the point. That was so close. Hawk
that was
just
so
about gets the remech onto the point as well, almost letting that slip away from them.
They don't really have any good ultimates here, and they're facing off against Happy's EMP. Catches Pelican and Hawk. Hawk demeched in the blink of an eye. The focus fire just so good from the Houston Outlaws. Even when they don't have that Discord orb to be able to work around, that's the overtime wick nearly burning away as Atlanta are on the verge of losing this round.
Yeah, they need to touch this point up. Another great hack onto Gator. Dante as well. No one's been dealing with him. Edison's been taken out, and now he's got the pulse bomb. A quick step off the point. The pulse bomb comes through. A fadeaway 3-pointer. My God, what is that? Still connecting it. Pelican, though, finding that one pick could be enough to try and turn things around, especially with the nano boost on him now. He's got all the damage in the world, but he just needs to hit the targets, but no one is dealing with the DPS of the Houston Outlaws. Dante and Happy just absolutely tearing them to shreds from every single angle. As they're slowly falling bit by bit. It should be the Houston Outlaws round.
So many resources from the Outlaws, Brent, are going into Piggy. A lot of their healing, almost all of their nano boosts are going onto their Diva. And that's even when Piggy is trying to peel away Pelican on the Pharah, or just at the end of a scrappy fight like that. They are prioritizing keeping Piggy not only healthy and alive, but giving him the ability to punish Gator, Hawk, get up in Pelican's face, put some pressure on Edison. Such a key and focal rookie player for the Houston Outlaws. His responsibility all season long has been wild, but he has delivered.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on his shoulders. I mean, I think we forget about that as well. A lot of the times when they're talking about the Houston Outlaws, you've got to remember, I mean, Django and Piggy coming into this season as rookies. Expectations were quite low for them, but they've been delivering above and beyond. Heading into the final round now of Nepal, to the village. Again, fire gameplay coming out. Pelicans just trying to put in those rockets once again, following up with a bit of that damage. He's taking a lot of it in return, though. Nice little bash there onto Gator. Can't be rolling through them. It's going to be the 1-for-1 trade. Crimzo falling means no more Discord orbs, though, which could be a dangerous scenario for them. And Happy just needs to just back off for about a moment. Still going to be putting in the damage, but they don't deny the Resurrect. So Pelican is back in the fight, and that's the danger of it as well. Despite running the legs, you have a bit more mobility when you're running the Soldier 76, but the focus fire was there at the end from the Atlanta Rain.
Certainly was. Crimzo swaps over to Ana as well. Seems like he's really prioritizing the Ana in this fight. I definitely thought the meta would be going in the direction of Zen Brig backlines, or, you know, possibly the Mercy Ana as well, but the Mercy, the Ana Brig with the ball is not somewhere I thought it would end up going. Happy with Attack Visor is going to try and turn this around. Pelican's been nanoed in the midst of this.
They're determined to. I mean, they got the pick onto Gator, but it just forces Pelican to invest that ultimate now. The barrage to turn it. That's both Happy and Jake gone. Out of the fight, a nice little sleep dart as well. Django so low. Pelican doesn't have any rockets, so he makes his fist do the work instead. I mean, why not? Does the job at the end of the day, and he got the pick.
It's quite hard for... We saw a little bit of Crimzo trying to apply pressure to the Pharah Mercy with his Ana shots, just offensively. That's very difficult on this map. You don't have very good sightlines a lot of the time onto the Pharah. Discord Orb, I would imagine, is the more reliable tool. but he's been just getting picked off so often. I think he's valuing the Bionade just to keep himself alive.
Yeah, bit of self-sustaining, I suppose, as well. And now we see this fight being taken. Houston Outlaws have worked themselves onto the point. Self-destruct and sleep, that's Chengdu. Just a sitting target right there, taken out by the self-destruct. And they're just going to be collapsing on the rest of the Houston Outlaws. Easily done for the Atlanta Reign. They know they've already won this team fight out. They can start staggering off Piggy as well. Start thinking about the next team fight.
It's not looking particularly good for Houston. Jake is now moving over to the Batiste as well, which gives them an immortality field, a little more poke to be able to deal with the Pharah, but still, I think putting all of these resources into dealing with Pelican just means that you're inevitably going to get shredded on the ground.
Hello there.
Dante is potentially a miracle worker here with this pulse bomb. He's just going to drag people to the objective, but there's a nano onto Pelican.
Oh, what a sleep! Boost engaged, but a great sleep dart, potentially undone. Pelican immediately woken up. He's getting off healed from afar. The barrage just comes out anyway. Happy will bring him down, but not before it's traded 1-for-1. 95% for the Atlanta Reign. And it is desperation here. The Houston Outlaws going to try and flip this point over. You can see the mine scattered over, and they do just about secure it. Gives them a bit of breathing room, but they're not out of the team fight just yet. The Atlanta Reign has still got bodies, and they've still got the healing necessary to survive this one out. Piggy now just going to be getting a bit of space onto the point, but Gator taken out by the mines. Now to self-destruct, off onto the side, forces the positioning of the Atlanta Reign for just a moment and pushes them back. But already you can see Pelican in the kill feed there, just shredding the rockets from afar and dealing with a lot of the squishier targets of the Houston Outlaws. Edison trying to dodge in and out, weaving between the point just to try and get that damage in on the opposition here. It's going to be the flip over the Atlanta Reign. The Houston Outlaws need to come up with something big. A nice sleep dart. Jake comes through anyway. Little try shot to the head. Why not? Edison's taken out. This could be turnable for the Houston Outlaws.
And Jake has gone huge here. The pick on Massa as well was enormous. Just leaves Pelican so much more vulnerable.
They got to touch the point though. Overtime still going. Now Happy's going to be using that tactical visor, and you can see Hawk just desperate to keep this one moving. But still not going to be enough there. The Houston Outlaws. What a turnaround off the back of that one. Crimzo and Jake coming up huge in the back line. Sleep dart following up on that kill onto Edison.
And here's where Crimzo and Jake should have slightly better angles for putting pressure on Pelican and Massa. As the Pharah Mercy approaches, you should be able to do quite a lot of damage with the Soldier 76, the Ana shots, any kind of spam coming out of the BAP as well. You also have the option of using that Amp Matrix too. It looks like Iris is going to go for it. I thought for a moment there he'd gone for the Mercy.
Hang on for the nano boost onto Pelican though, with the power drive engaged as well. That's a lot of space being created. They can just chasing down the targets. Jake forced to offload that amplification matrix, but it's in a very awkward angle. They can't really get the damage off. Eventually bringing Pelican down, but not before he's already done the damage. Django left alive, one of the last players as well for the Houston Outlaws, just trying to basically stall this point up. It's not going to be enough for them. The Atlanta Reign flipping it over. The mines as well going to be stopping most players from really just trying to keep this one moving. Happy dropped down from the low ground. Receives the Bionade just to keep the overtime going, but I don't know if the Houston Outlaws have any more gas in the tank, and that is going to be the map. The Atlanta Reign are the ones taking it away. Very, very close between both of these teams, but ultimately they were the ones who came out on top.
Yeah, that final round was one of the most one-sided, honestly, and the Outlaws had some opportunities to try and get back into the game. It just felt to me like there was a bit of desperation coming out from the Outlaws in terms of those composition swaps. I would be surprised if it wasn't improvisational. You know, that Ana BAP backline is something we haven't seen particularly. It doesn't look as effective at being able to operate throughout the majority of the team fight. And there was a lot of compositional swaps going on, just individuals picking different roles to try and adjust. They never found the answer to the Pharah Mercy from Atlanta.
A lot of people favoring the Houston Outlaws in this series. I'm going to see on the other side of the break if they can come back and make that a slight reality. At the moment, the Atlanta Reign leading 1-0, but that might be changing in the near future. We'll find out in just a few, so don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. Let's take a look at our power rankings with IBM Watson for our damage dealers entering this week. Top 20, as you can see, a lot of players in this match currently in the top 20, I believe. 5 out of the 20, so 1/4 of the players in this match
that's
that we're
not
witnessing right now. That's not bad at all.
It definitely isn't. Pelican up towards the top. He has obviously had a fantastic season. What he's been able to do on the May, the Echo, now the Farah as well, has all been fabulous whenever he's been playing for the Atlanta Reign, and they've seen a lot of success off the back of that. You've also got Kai towards, what was that, the 17th position, I believe, and he is going to be subbed in here. So that's what, this is the roster that the Atlanta Reign were playing for the majority of their game against the LA Gladiators, where they were able to get the win in the 5-map series. And he was surprising me in that he was flexing over to the Tracer at times. And like I said at the beginning of this match, it's not something that he's really known for. A lot of hitscan players can play Tracer, but it's been historically thought of as something where you want a specialist on that hero rather than a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
And Kai can pick up, it seems, the Tracer alongside a lot of the hitscan stuff, which makes him a great addition if the Atlanta Reign want to play more Orisa-based stuff.
Yes, and it seems like they might want to do that. We're going into King's Row as well, so you do start to see a bit of those compositions coming out and shining. There's certain areas of it that really do facilitate it. I mean, it's something that the Atlanta Reign haven't really shied away from, I suppose, in terms of how many different compositions that they are actually playing. They've even been throwing out the Reinhardt every now and then, so
yes,
yeah, they're definitely experimenting a lot.
Yeah, they certainly do seem to be. I mean, Iris barely played anything other than Batiste across the previous stage. And now he's played Ana, Zen. I mean, he's got Moira on the screen at the moment, though I doubt they're going to be playing that. But they have actually played some Moira Brig at times. What I'm thinking about here is that the Atlanta Reign's Orisa-based comps don't seem to play particularly well into Farah, but that's not something we've seen the Outlaws go towards. The Outlaws have not been one of these teams in the West that have been pulling out a lot of the Farah pick. We haven't seen Dante or Happy really flex onto that role. So it does seem to me like a good idea to try it right now. King's Row, set up on the high ground, a very tanky defense, give Kai all the space to be able to work with the Cowboy. I think that's a good idea.
Happy is teasing the idea of the Widowmaker possibly to just get an opening pick. He's taunting around the corner. So that's actually so he gets the third-person perspective, so he can see just around the corner just to see if they're holding close.
His Widow is
made the
nasty.
switch now. Yeah. Definitely one of his most well-known roles. And he's going to be playing the Hangzhou here, so a bit of spam to try and take out this Orisa shield. A little bit more damage consistently.
Yeah, we've seen teams go for Farah Hangzhou, which is a crazy amount of spam damage to be able to ruin that Orisa shield. But Dante choosing the Tracer role is going to be able to follow up on some of the damage and set up for mini dives with Django based off the back of Happy's DPS.
Yeah, Atlanta Reign are not messing around whatsoever, actually. They're going to be moving together as a bit of a grouped unit. Just trying to deal with potentially one of the Houston Outlaws members that might have been caught unaware from it. Pelican forced to use that recall as well. A lot of damage shoved into him, but that's a headshot from Kai. Beautiful work on the Cowboy. Nicely done, and he's even finding the shots additionally as well. Lovely stagger kills coming out at the tail end of this.
Yeah, huge work. And it just empowers Kai to be able to do his best stuff. And when you don't have the Farah in your wheelhouse to be able to flex over to, the Outlaws don't have that classic counter that we've seen other teams try to utilize. Farah can be incredibly effective here attacking on King's Row for point A. You have some really good angles, and it can really bunch up the Atlanta Reign into a tiny corner where they can't do too much. Force them to be the initiators. With the Tracer, it's less simple. Pelican's kind of keeping Dante in check. Although you could argue Dante's keeping him in check.
Yeah, well, you see the recoil force from both of these Tracer players. Pelican has to back off and play for the armor pack there. Still looking to get a bit of that
pulse.
Map control. Now we see the Amp Matrix coming through just around this fountain area. Still no pressure being applied, but that's going to be the D-Mech onto Hawk. Dante as well, chasing down the opposition. That's the Transcendence forced out as Pelican's going to be jumping straight onto him. What a pulse bomb! Immortality field from Jake, perfectly timed so that he's still going to be alive. And the Houston Outlaws, they have a numbers advantage, but maybe not for much longer. Dante gets taken out from the stray headshot. And they're still able to just hold on here. The Atlanta Reign have a ton of staying power, this composition. Dragon Strike to try and push them away, and at least buy a bit of time, but as Jake goes down to Pelican, it's not looking ideal.
Pelican is doing so much work for Atlanta, dominating these high grounds and being that one flexible, aggressive component of an otherwise quite static bunker composition. It keeps the backline and it keeps Dante in check and stops them from being able to take the best positions possible. And Kai just continues to put out crazy amounts of damage from the backline here. He has a Deadeye as well to be able to lock up Django or Piggy if they decide to go aggressive at some point. Looking for a little flanking move too.
Yeah, nice little halt there up onto the high ground, but not too much to combo into it. You see that nice pulse bomb as well. Dante going to be finding that connection onto Gator. Gator so low, and he's just going to be peppered down. Dante has to be careful though. The High Noon's going to get channeled up there, but still they found the pickoffs onto Pelican as well. That has to be a high-risk play now from Kai as well. You can see him trying to take the flank. Dante falling. Still only a single tick here for the Houston Outlaws. Quite slow in their approach, but now they have to try and punish them into the hotel. Self-destruct straight into the ground. That's going to be the Immortality Field at least used now. Houston Outlaws want to be trying to weather this one for as long as possible. Piggy taking so much damage. The pressure into the corner. What a transcendence. The timing on that was impeccable from Crimzo, saving his tank line.
It certainly was. That was amazing timing. Piggy was down to single digits of HP. And the Outlaws are finally, eventually, going to be able to take checkpoint A. Gator was thinking about the swap there, I think. But he is committing to the Orisa. Coming back off the spawn. A long respawn for him as they get back into the team fight. The Outlaws have an opportunity to keep some momentum going with another Dragon Strike here from Happy. We've seen Happy's Hangzhou be phenomenal for the Outlaws earlier on in the season when he pulled it out, for example, against the Shock in that in one of their first games where they were able to deliver a blow to the Titans. But it hasn't been the star of the show so far.
Yeah. So Dragon Strike to try and cut them off into the streets. That's the Immortality Field coming through. Pelican, bit of a whiff there with a pulse bomb. Was hoping for one of the backline targets. Jake using that amplification matrix as well in response to try and punish the Atlanta Reign as they all come forward. Still, it matters not. Kills are all going to be flooding towards them, and they've managed to get this hold off happening. And yeah, I mean, these are Orisa compositions, Josh. Sorry, what was the point you were going to make? I was just going to say, some of the weaknesses just aren't even evident, it feels like, when on the defense side.
They should be the less aggressive of the two teams, right? They're playing an Orisa. They can't get as aggro. It doesn't feel like that watching them. You're watching Pelican and Hawk go for these dives into the backline and pressure Happy all the way at the back, taking out the Hangzhou early on. The Houston Outlaws, in theory, should be the ones setting the tempo, but it just simply doesn't feel like it. Hawk's having a great game, just supporting Pelican as Pelican plays tremendously on the Tracer.
With that Matrix, Houston forced to just play indoors. Flashbang's not going to be connecting just yet. Already, so Houston Outlaws just trying to find a way into this. Dante's just trying to coordinate as well with his team. That's a self-destruct off into the side. Power Drive as well connects onto them, and Crimzo, he walks forward with the rest of his team, just plowing in the shots. Beautiful work as well. Taking out two of the players. Transcendence going to be used just in case. Maybe not too necessary, but at least they don't lose anybody else. They're going to be able to take this team fight further forwards into this streets phase. Hopefully take checkpoint B.
Well, you say take checkpoint B. There's 45 seconds left. The Atlanta Reign are going to be able to force another fight, and they have Supercharger. A Supercharged Deadeye is going to be able to eviscerate any of the Outlaws players that stray into the line of sight. Happy has a Dragon Strike. That could be a very useful zoning tool. But with Gator's Supercharger, it is so difficult to fight into this.
Oh, and Hawks used the self-destruct as well. The positioning is just forced into every single angle. It makes it easy for Pelican to get that pulse bomb. You know exactly where Happy was going to be stood. And now, that one kill, they notice somebody's in the tunnels as well, trying to chase them down. And it's going to be Jake
Pelican
as well, split up from the rest of his team.
He's not scared whatsoever. He's just running rampant around the battlefield. Dante can't keep him in check. Crimzo and Jake as a backline can't keep him in check. Pelican shouldn't have that much support, and yet he's been able to do so much.
Okay, Dragon Strike comes through. That's going to cut across the card again. Hands. Okay, well.
Huge pick.
As well. It's not quite there just yet, but Kai going down. That's a massive pick. Transcendence. Somebody needs to touch this. The Atlanta Reign have been caught slightly unaware here. The Houston Outlaws with these great pickoffs as well. Ultima's being invested into this one. They're going to fortify up here. Gator just trying to survive, but it's going to be the cap anyway. The Houston Outlaws sailing it in despite the Atlanta Reign having the bodies to try and contest it.
And I think the crucial difference there is that the Outlaws managed to find first picks onto both the DPS players of the Reign. To me, there's such a difference between the Outlaws when they were playing against the Justice and they were given all the space they needed to play their own game, and them playing now when they're getting continually harassed by the Reign. Pelican in the backline is just stopping these perfect rotations that we saw in that Justice match from Crimzo, from Jake. The continual harassment is really disrupting the Outlaws' game plan.
Dante with the pulse bomb. That's a bit of a rare miss there. Have to drop down to the low ground here. Pelican also very close to the pulse bomb of his own. Just trying to keep Dante in check so he can't really push these flank angles as well and start putting a bit of damage into the back line. But down to 35 seconds now for the Houston Outlaws. They're looking for some way to just get into this one. South Destruct comes in, going to try and coordinate it with the power driver and the Dragon Strike, and that's the kill onto Pelican. Massa goes down as it created enough space that Dante, I mean, it's just an easy kill for him, but Hawk,
what a bomb!
Drops down the bomb, that was incredible! Just glides down off the side of the building. 2 kills, easily done. Iris now with the Amp Matrix, but traded out from either side. Pelican, he's got to get a pick or something with this pulse bomb, and it's going to connect. The damage is done, and that brings Django low enough that Kai can collect the kill with the Supercharger as well. This is not going to be the Houston Outlaws team fight to win. It's going to need an absolute miracle for them to do so here. Going to start trying to touch this as well with the extra damage going their way. Yeah, not looking too hot. Transcendence from Crimzo to just try and stall it out, but yeah, it's just Django who's really the sole person who can really try and touch this one now into the overtime. Probably not going to be the overall capture. There we go. Just shy of that third and final checkpoint.
Kai and Pelican have just been playing like warriors in this map. It's crazy. I thought that this DPS battle was relatively even. Maybe there's a bit more flexibility when it comes to the Atlanta Reign because they have those 3 players they can rotate around, and they got very, very well-rounded players in every role. But Dante and Happy are nothing to sniff at as well. That's a serious DPS battle we've got going on right now. Pelican is playing without a Harmony Orb, right? Happy has access to that Harmony Orb in a lot of these fights, and yet Pelican is still bullying Dante in a lot of these 1v1s that we're seeing to skirmish and fight over map control. In the meantime, Kai has just been popping heads. Whatever hero he's playing, he swapped towards the Hangzhou at the end, and he just started slamming with the extra damage coming out from Gator's Supercharger. The Atlanta Reign can sometimes just rely on their DPS players to gift them huge advantages in the team fights, and this map feels like one of them.
Yeah, it really does. Stopping them just short as well of that third and final checkpoint. Pretty massive. They know exactly where they need to push now to try and take away the map. And the Houston Outlaws, okay, let's take a look at this earlier on. This is very early on into the game. Just Iris styling.
Yep.
Okay, I was wondering what that was. Yeah.
Yeah. Cute number of kills there. Iris playing probably the flex support that he's most comfortable on at this point, the Batiste. He played so much of it so far this season. But I am liking that in the Countdown Cup he's been open to flexing onto other stuff, the Ana, the Zen, stuff that we haven't seen too often from Iris. But he's looked very good at it.
The Atlanta Reign still running this Orisa composition. Flashbang, I think that connected, so Django was locked up for but a moment, not enough to get the kill though. The Atlanta Reign are going to look to slowly take map control away here. It's up to the Houston Outlaws to try and disrupt this. The Wrecking Ball with the Discord Orbs with the damage coming in from afar. You can see Happy just trying to rotate so he gets a better angle, but the damage is too much. That was just pure spam damage coming from afar, and Happy gets taken out straight away. There's no mercy to try and undo that kill, and off the back of that one opening, it's a massive one. The Atlanta Reign can now start to pressure up this point. Already a tick on the board, and they can start to squeeze away the Houston Outlaws, preventing them from really trying to contest this one.
This is, I think, are they going to go for it again? It looks like it. Here they come.
Test.
Piggy and Dante. Dante bashed immediately.
That's a great pick. Pelican falling. That is a great opening. The Houston Outlaws needed something like that, but they got to contest up this point. 97.7%. Django falling. They need the bodies on it just to try and keep this one going. But Kai, I mean, the guy's just almost unstoppable. The flashbang into all the shots in the Transcendence by Crimzo. They thought it might have been turnable, but they cap up the point anyway. And it's a wasted ult at the end of the day.
Yeah, that is a rough one. Atlanta Reign have 5 minutes in the time bank now, and some huge ultimates to keep this snowball going. They've got a Supercharger to be able to work with, a rally as well. The Outlaws don't really have that many tools. I'm starting to question the BAP Zen backline. I feel like a Brig is almost required here to be able to apply more pocket into Dante and to stop Pelican from having that impact in the back. But then you are giving up a lot of poke. The Batiste adds extra poke damage to stop Gator and Kai, in theory, from getting their impact, but they're already getting it. Look at Pelican here as well. No one knows he's here at all.
They don't know at all. Dragon Strike off into the side. Pelican, this might be his time to shine as the Houston Outlaws have moved forwards here. It's going to be the Immortality Field used as Hawk sent in his South Destruct. That was a response to it. The Rally Armor now from Massa. The Atlanta Rain going to be pretty healthy now as they're just trying to push straight through the streets. And Django ends up going down. He ends up using the mines. He didn't take out that supercharger, and Kai now taking the off angle. A dangerous situation to be in still. The Houston Outlaws definitely have the players up and necessary to try and turn this one, but as I say that, it's not going to be working out for them. A lot of pressure applied to Kai. 5 HP just trying to survive. But Pelican, well, he's got his back. Chasing down Dante. He's just putting in so much work and putting the team on his back.
It's crazy watching this guy play. Edison is the more usual Tracer player for the Atlanta Rain, but now we've seen Kai swap over to it, Pelican as well. I am so impressed with the Atlanta Rain's Tracer ability. This is nasty stuff. And Jake pops his Ant Matrix in the middle of that fight, takes down Iris, and then they just get overwhelmed. The flanking angles from Kai and Pelican are ruining the Outlaws.
Well, it's a pulse bomb available. Dante's got it locked up. No recall though, he doesn't really want to play aggressively off of that. See, the Deadeye, again, it's going to push them all away, Happy, for but a moment. I think that may have been a halt as well, possibly, just moving his body around as well, just putting him in the line of sight for it. Still, it's going to need something big now for the Houston Outlaws to try and turn this around. Crimson falls, though. Gator is missing from this fight for the Atlanta Rain. They have lost their main tank. It could be doable. Dante, he needs to get out of here alive. It's not going to be doable, though. Just trying to chase things down, taking a bit of a risk to try and take out Pelican. Still, Dragon Strike now into the power driver, and Django shut down once again.
Dominated.
Moving back over to the Wrecking Ball. Pelican taken out, though. Another great opening with the Transcendence to keep the heals up. The Houston Outlaws could try and salvage this one. Big South Destruct to push them all the way, but Piggy ready and waiting with one of his own straight into the back, and that space. Happy with 2, still putting in the good work, gets the D-Mech on top of it as well. The damage being done right now. No one was dealing with him, and that is a clutch play.
That is so clutch. 3.5 minutes still in the time bank. If the Atlanta Rain have been able to get it through there, that's devastating. Not just for the map score, but also for the mental, for the morale. And now the Atlanta Rain are going to have an opportunity to reset a little bit. Pelican moving over to the Hangzhou. He has a mercy pocket on him as well. It just feels like the way that Atlanta are empowering their DPS to play is superior to the Houston Outlaws. It almost shouldn't feel like that because Dante's been playing with a Harmony Orb the whole time, but he hasn't been able to get value out of it in the same way. And now here, Pelican just playing with this damage boost coming out from Massa. It feels like he's going to be able to take the high ground much more consistently.
That is quite nice, though. Dante with a pulse bomb, Kai falling. Ton of damage being brought to them. Pelican just slamming in the arrows. Dante overstaying his welcome just by a tad, but he paid for it with his life in the end, and the Atlanta Rain have punished this hubris from the Houston Outlaws. The window dropped down, getting the kills there, and it's a difficult fight for them. It gives the Atlanta Rain space to work with now. The spawn's coming in now for the Houston Outlaws, so they are still going to be able to contest this one. They do need to be careful as well of Happy. He was the last player to try and salvage this one for his team. Mines dropped. Now the Deadeye as well from Kai, just to stop them from pushing past it. It's going to, again, just buy a bit more time resetting it. A bit of a micro reset. I was about to say into the 6v6, but Pelican, I mean, he's just completely took matters into his own hands. The headshot onto Happy, marking Django the entire time, not letting them get away with this. 2 kills now. A wonderful setup for the Atlanta Rain to just carry this one home.
He's getting pressured by Dante, though, at the moment. The Storm Arrow is not quite finding anything. He's looking for the recall, predicting it as well. Can't quite land the headshot, and now taking the duel there against Happy. He has to back off. In the meantime, the tanks are getting eviscerated. Django, Piggy trying to fight on the objective. You just can't against a supercharger. It's all over.
And it was so many fights taking place over the course of that entire final checkpoint, but at the end of the day, the Atlanta Rain, the coordination as well of Gator playing out Orisa, coordinate all up with the halts, enough to try and break through. That's the Atlanta Rain leading 2-0 in this series, Josh. I mean, it's not going the way we expected, really.
I thought it would be a very close game. And Atlanta were clearly in control of Kings Row. There's no question about it. Atlanta's DPS line dominated the Houston Outlaws there. I think they have a really good idea of how they want to play this meta, and Houston have yet to find out a good answer, both for Pelican when he plays the Pharah, and for Pelican when he's playing everything else.
Yeah. I mean, there's still hope here for the Houston Outlaws because we're going to be going to a short break, but of course, the series is going to be continuing on the other side of things. We're going to see if the Houston Outlaws can battle back, potentially get the idea of that reverse sweep started, or is it going to be the Atlanta Rangers walking away with it, a nice and easy 3-0 to really get this Countdown Cup started. We'll see you in just a few.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. So much flavor, it's a mind crunch. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. I'm big time, lot of slime. Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Pockets running over with the dollar sign. Try to take it from me, yeah. Big
The countdown begins. We've loved seeing your awesome artistic creations this season on the Fan Art Gallery by Coca-Cola. And for the Countdown Cup, you can submit your art celebrating the Overwatch League and Coca-Cola for a chance to be featured. So submissions are now open at overwatchleague.com/art-gallery. So make sure you get them in as well. I've absolutely loved as well seeing all the different artwork as well, and some of the break screens that we've got as well. Some very talented members of the community.
Yeah, they certainly are. It's very cool to see. Heading into our next map, we've got Rialto coming up, and I'm interested to kind of get a feel for what the Atlanta Reign are going to be running here. It feels like Atlanta are definitely setting the tempo in this game, and that makes sense considering they're 2-0 up, but they're also setting the tempo in terms of the team compositions. They're the most flexible of the two.
And in the past, you can see with the map leaderboard, presented by Xfinity, the Outlaws actually rearing their heads twice on this one. Actually, the recipients of the fastest time in 2020 ever on Rialto, and also they managed to get one of their own back in 2020 as well, 5th on the leaderboard. Looking to try and maybe stray away from the top result and maybe move more towards the last result on that in this third map, because it's all going to come down to this for the Atlanta Reign. They're looking to try and just close this one out in a clean 3-0.
Yeah, true, but also Atlanta are no Vancouver Titans, so that's going to be a little bit of a difficult one, I think. Like I said, though, I am interested. Like, this map is historically a pretty good fire map, at least the beginning portion of it. We've seen some teams try to run that. It's also one where we've seen teams try to run Orisa on defense of point A. And so I could see both of those being viable for the Atlanta Reign. And if you take a look at the team composition, they're showcasing right at the off, they're playing the Pharah Torbjorn, which was something that they brought out a little bit in their prior game against the Gladiators. So this is going to be difficult for the Outlaws to deal with, I think. And so far, they have failed to come up with a strategy that really breaks down what Atlanta Reign are doing. They haven't tried too much of the... like getting the Sombra in the back line and trying to pick the Atlanta Reign to pieces. They haven't tried matching the Pharah in any of these scenarios. There are still a lot of strategies that are available to them. They haven't come up with the answer. I don't know what the answer is either, because the Countdown Cup is so new, so fresh.
It's all over the place. Meta. It's the team really still trying to discover this. And, oh my goodness, Happy just teasing us with the Widowmaker there, and you can see the Atlanta Reign. They were like, oh. Pelican just spotted it, and Massa did, and they had to just quickly increase the DPI and mouse up to 10,000. Twirl around in the air so they didn't get headshot. It is the Genji Tracer on the attacking side of things. Crimzo taken out, though, from the stray shot of Kai from afar. Bit of Molten Lead going his way. Not ideal.
Again, Bren, it again feels weird to me to be running back in these kind of scenarios rather than the break. But I'll leave it to Coach Jake. They know what they're doing the majority of the time when they have him in. But it hasn't worked out this time around. Dante and Happy both finding it difficult to build a dependent charge, but if they find an opportunity to follow up on the Discord orb, people are going to melt on Atlanta.
Dante's just struggling to get the damage in as well. They take out the turret, which is a good find for them. Kai also going down, but doesn't have to deflect, or he did. Just not enough to save him. Taken out in the end. Still picks going away at the Houston Outlaws as they're slowly pushing this one in, but Pelican is right into the backline, coordinating with the rest of their team. Nice little shot there from him, but Jake takes him out anyway. It's a lovely little cleanup there for the Houston Outlaws to try and push this one in, and they're not really going to have any sort of contention at the end of checkpoint A.
Swaps already from the Atlanta Reign, deciding not to continue with the Pharah and with the Orisa. They want to recontest checkpoint A before it gets capped in. There's Happy with a pulse bomb. Gator dropped incredibly weak. Iris forced to use his ult and his immortality field early on.
Okay. I stand corrected. I thought they weren't going to have any opportunity to contest this, but still the Atlanta Reign have definitely got the bodies capable on the point here. The Molten Core just spread all over the bloody shop. They can't play up close onto this card. They can start to have a bit of a miniature reset, but not quite. With Gator going down, falling off the map there is actually an environmental kill credited to Piggy with the beat down. Still Dante falls. Still hasn't built up this blade. Now to Mines. They want to close this one out. The Houston Outlaws are desperate for it. Happy has to use that recall. Hawk Force and Massa as well. Surely the Houston Outlaws have got enough picks now to win this one.
They must be able to. Kai has swapped over the Widow here to see if he can clutch things out. Seems like a little bit of desperation. He hasn't been able to hit too many shots. and the Houston Outlaws are going to be able to complete this objective. Dante doesn't even bother with the blade. He was relatively close to building it up after 2 minutes of trying, and he just swaps over to the Sombra anyway. Happy with the kill on Kai. I assume Kai is going to swap his role as well, because that Widowmaker is not going to be particularly effective. Goes over, to the Torbjorn eventually as well. That is obviously a very good target, difficult to dive.
Certainly. Fight's still taking place on top of the staircase here. You see Houston actually use that amp matrix. Jake laid it down. But still, the Atlanta Rain is just going to maneuver around it and now take the fight on the card. What is that? Spam damage coming Crimzo's way. There's no time to react to it. Just taking off the face of the map.
He was at 99% as well, Brent. If he'd been able to get up to that Transcendence, there's a potential that the Outlaws would have committed to that fight. And instead, they take a reset, and now they're kind of pushing into a large avenue of spam. There's going to be a lot of spam pointed at them, coming out from Iris, from Kai, from long range. And then as they get closer, they'll have Pelican harassing them, Hawk harassing them as well. The Outlaws need to be able to navigate this bridge, then try and take high ground control, then try and get onto the card. It's a difficult task. This portion of Rialto is a pain to get through.
Satisfactory over the top, though. That's something to try and break apart this defense.
It's a good idea.
Pelican. It is, yeah. It has pushed them off the low ground as well. Post bomb comes through. Pelican not going to be connecting that one, though. This top turret's so annoying as well for the Houston Outlaws right now. When they're running this Tracer Sombra comp, as well as just kind of peppering them from afar. Still, the Houston Outlaws have broken past at least that high ground defense, but now they have to worry about this staircase as they're trying to essentially push this card for as long as possible without really being highly contested. A lot of damage being pumped into them. Gator probably thought he was healthier than he actually was there. Mortality field from Iris not either connecting or a little bit too late. Not too sure. Either way, ended up going down, but still turning around. Happy with the pulse bomb, connecting it onto the back of Massa. It's an even fight for either side.
Dante got taken down just before he was able to get his first ultimate of the game, Brent. That EMP that he's been striving towards after he swapped away from the Genji, he gets taken down at 99% just as he's about to be able to get it. Again, perhaps the Outlaws would have wanted to commit to that if they had access to another big ultimate. But the Atlanta Reign keep just tipping the tide of the fight at the perfect moments. And Pelican destroys Happy again. Pelican has just been a force to be reckoned with. Dante is scouting Pelican right now. They might be looking for the neutral hack and a punish onto Pelican. I think that would be a great beginning. But now he's working his way towards the objective instead.
Yeah, it's going to be forced back though. Just pushing the cart for a better moment. They need to wait for Happy to get back into the action on the Tracer, which he is. See, Pelican's job is to try and essentially mark him, make sure he doesn't get into the back line. Potentially get a kill as well. Recall forced. Pelican's not going to have that in this upcoming fight. EMP used straight away. That's a great EMP. It connected onto both the Immortality Field and the Supercharger. Gave them enough time as well to take out Gator as well. So they finally removed them and pushed them away from the staircase. But the Atlanta Reign go for a bit of a micro disengage here, Josh. Just backing up around a corner, looking to refight it.
And Pelican's going to continue just harassing this objective. A push back in forces the trance. Crimzo felt like he needed to use that. Great pulse bomb, though. Catches onto Massa, the backline. Look at Pelican diving in. Okay, maybe they're not going to be able to get all the results here, but this was a really nice attempt at a re-engage from the Atlanta Reign.
Houston Outlaws, though, with a fantastic read. Large investments into this fight here. They are slowly edging this one out. They're getting all the picks they need to try and win this one. Still the Atlanta Reign rolling deep.
No way.
Gator moving over to the wrecking ball. Kai has two. Crimzo and Dante have fallen. Absolutely cast and cursing them. The Houston Outlaws, I was convinced they were going to be taking that one off the pickups they got, but still, no one's dealing with them at these off angles. And now Pelican in the back line. The pulse bomb connects. Django's going to be taken out. The Houston Outlaws with only 5 seconds remaining. These are all stagger kills going their way as well. They know they have to touch this one. Recall going to be used as Happy did just about get onto it to keep this one alive, but they're being pushed away in every single avenue. Taken out as well as the turret's just doing all the work into the back line. It's going to be the Atlanta Reign just stopping them short of checkpoint B.
This DPS duo for the Atlanta Reign is phenomenal. Pelican doesn't die. Massa is keeping him alive at all times, and this is why I'm so unconvinced with the Houston Outlaws backline of the Zen and the BAP. We've seen it work in prior metas before. I'm not saying that it's completely unviable by any means, But Massa seems to be getting so much value out of just armor packing Pelican. Seemingly any applicable range can just fire one out, and then Pelican goes back to fighting with that constant regeneration being applied to it. And Pelican has been able to do so much. He was the only player left alive to contest the objective in 2 back-to-back team fights. The Outlaws couldn't kill him, and then he buys enough time for Kai to come back and kill anyone. It's just wild trying to deal with this Rain DPS duo. They clutch fights they have no right to win.
I have no idea how they're doing it as well. I mean, you're trying to keep players like Dante in check. I mean, this guy's one of the best Tracer players in the world, and he's being supported by Crimzo as well with the Harmony Orbs. Man, oh man. I don't know what Crimzo was saying in the chat there, talking about Cheetos or something, being dangerous, deadly, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea.
This is that clutch that we were seeing from Kai here. I mean,
are they talking about the Rivet gun? Is that like a nickname for the Rivet gun?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, Kai is literally doing, as Jaws likes to call it, the AFK strat, where you just spam down an avenue. Yeah, I mean, that's how he got the first opening pick, but then the second one, I mean, it's all him, really. Fantastic.
He is incredibly good on the top. Yeah. Okay, and Happy moves over to Widow. Pure comfort role here is what I'm thinking, because I don't think Widow is going to be hyper effective in this meta overall. Especially not on a map like Rialto. Maybe we'd see it on like Volskaya, something like that. How is Happy even going to get the angles? He's going to have to flank so much, and that just opens him up to Pelican.
Even some of the best Widowmaker players in Overwatch, I mean, this current meta that we're seeing in the Countdown Cup, it's difficult for them to hit the shots, and Happy is hunting for them, certainly, but it's always the risk that he gets pressured out as well. By even Pelican as well.
Trying
managed to work his way in. Dante goes down to the turret. It sounds like a joke, but the turret is actually such a nuisance if you're a Tracer player trying to get into those angles and onto the back line. It's just constant chip damage tracking you down. Still, he will go down as Happy eventually gets that kill. Jump shot, maybe not quite, but Happy just trying to escape this.
And this backline, though, Brent, is so vulnerable. You have Happy at 175 HP, and then you have a Zen and a Batiste. They can't really do too much against the Tracer unless Jake and Crimzo hit some nasty shots. The Brig would apply, the Brig, or I don't know, they have the Soldier 76, for example, would apply so much more stability to this backline of the Outlaws.
Happy going down, ultimate's committed. Houston Outlaws want to take this one. Desperately searching for an opportunity to turn this around, but with the ultimates into the back, right onto the bridge. Self-destruct removing Piggy from the fight. Jackie realizes it's pretty much over there. The whip shot from Massa, he'll be credited with the kill at the end of the day. 4 minutes, 48 seconds. The Atlanta Reign pushing this one now. They're going to look to try and take a forward position so that the Houston Outlaws can't set up on them. But my word, it's a lot of time to work with, and that objective, I mean, it's not far away.
It's not far whatsoever. Atlanta have priority control on the high ground as well. Happy moves over to Hangzhou. The Outlaws are going to try and contest this high ground up top. Django with mines as well. They have an opportunity to turn this around. But even if they get the momentum here, it's so long. Great whip shot.
Oh, I pushed him all the way back. He wanted those mines to be just landing onto the opposition. All it's going to do is delay, honestly, as they just clear them up. Houston dropping off of that staircase as well for the high ground. They're still going to be keeping a couple of players up there as well. Rotating back and forth, Pelican. That is a great marking coming out from Dante, but Pelican, how does he get out of that? Still, the Houston Outlaws, it matters not. Let's concentrate on the team fight that's taking place in the front line here. Happy opened things up nicely with that kill onto Kai. That is just going to pave the way now for hopefully a one-team fight, looking to collect up a couple of these stagger kills.
Okay, Crimzo's popping as well. That's what they need. Put a bit of pressure on Pelican, peel him away from your backline, and allow Crimzo and Jake to get in positions where they can melt the Atlanta Reign. That's the game plan here. They have a lot of poke damage coming from their backline. They got a Hangzhou, a Bap, a Zen. It's huge amounts of damage. It's just, they're also kind of like a glass cannon backline. They can get disturbed a lot by Pelican's pressure. So as long as you peel Pelican away, which is easier said than done, Houston do have some great opportunities, especially now they can set up here on this long sideline. Oh, that is devastating, though. How on earth does Django fall?
I'm not sure. And Matrix from the Atlanta Rainers. I think they assume that the Houston Outlaws are going to be trying to go aggressive onto them. Dante, the tunnel system down below. What is that by Pelican?
He's bullying Dante. He is bullying him.
I mean, this
He's been doing it all series.
every single opportunity to chase Dante down, forcing out the recall. The Houston Outlaws, they have to use ultimates here, but Crimzo goes down. It's the arrow coming from Kai there. High ground still in control for them. The Immortality field is a bit late though. They've already got the D-Mech onto Piggy, so not going to have that action for them. 2.5 minutes left. The Atlanta Reign sailing this one forwards with the supercharger behind them. It just empowers Pelican even just that bit more. Dante's going to try and at least stop this car from going forwards, but Django, he's just really a very, very juicy target for them to take down. Transcendence on Crimzo to keep them going, but with Dante gone, it's not looking ideal. The Mortality field off onto the corner, that's instantly focused down. Great fire here from the Atlanta Reign. And my word, their DPS have really just opened things up for them time and time again. That is going to be the series. Completely unexpected affairs, honestly. The Atlanta Reign getting that 3-0, expecting a much closer match between both these teams. But, I mean, systematically, it felt like the Houston Outlaws were just getting dismantled.
It really did. There was no answer there. And we were saying at the beginning of this, perhaps we'll have a better understanding of who the better teams are in the West after this game. Well, I think you can quite clearly and evidently see that the Houston Outlaws looked great when they weren't under a huge amount of pressure. They performed excellently against the Washington Justice. They looked very disciplined, but their game plan fell to pieces up against the pressure that was being applied by Pelican's Farah and also Pelican's Tracer. The Atlanta Reign's versatility and their willingness to flex over to Orisa compositions was a strategic blow that the Houston Outlaws simply couldn't recover from. That just adds another interesting wrinkle in terms of the hierarchy over here in the West.
The Atlanta Reign, we've been calling it the entire series long. Let's take a look at our player of the match. Presented by Xfinity, yeah, I mean, there's one name I think that everybody's keeping at the back of their heads, and it's Pelican. With the individual performances that this guy was just throwing out over the course of the series. Love the tech there as well, using the EMP just to keep a bit of forward upwards momentum so he didn't go straight into the drink. But yeah, I mean, doing it across so many different roles, Josh. You were in awe at the real diversity that was on show here from the perspective of like the amount of DPS characters they can be playing. Pelican just seems to be doing it on almost every single role.
It is bizarre. I mean, Pelican, we know that he's a phenomenal talent. He's been talked about in terms of Rookie of the Year. People have even thrown his name into the hat in terms of MVP, which I think is a bit of a stretch. But after these kind of games and how the Atlanta Reign has been able to utilize his versatility and his explosiveness to get to multiple stage finals at this point, and now they're looking great again. This is another scenario where the stonks are rising for Pelican this season. He just looks like a beast, an absolute beast. What more can you say about him? He's not known as a Tracer player, but this has been the year, Bren, where you aren't known as a Tracer player, but you still pop off in the league, has become a trope. How many players have we said that about? It feels like Tracer has gone from being something where only specialists could master it, where now everyone is good enough at the fundamental game of Overwatch that it's no longer so much of a specialist role. A lot of different players. Yeah, a lot of different players are able to pick it up. We've seen Lib, we've seen Spark, we've seen Pelican, I mean, Kai was playing it as well. It just seems, excellent.
Yeah, you just need it as part of your wheelhouse. I mean, just being able to do it on so many different roles. I mean, Josh, if you're not going to say it, I'll say it. I mean, Pelican's getting my vote so far, at least. I'm a one game Andy. You know what I mean? I'm trusting in Pelican's performance, honestly.
For what, Rookie of the Year or MVP?
MVP, I think. I'll throw his name in the hat. You know what I mean? I'll throw his name in the hat. These performances, you've got to put him in the discussion. I think people definitely like to sleep on the Atlanta Reign on a regular basis, but Taiyu's not going to be sleeping. Kai, because we've got an interview coming up with him as well, and that would have been fantastic as well if we just jumped straight into it, but I think we actually have a break, so we don't get that instant transition. Instead, you got a short break, but then you get the interview with Kai. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you in just a few, and even more Overwatch League action that's going to be taking place as well after that as well. So we'll see you soon.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Game Break, presented by Pringles. We're joined now by Kai from Atlanta Reign. Kai, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to start this interview by asking about a certain hero, and that is, of course, Soldier 76. I feel like Soldier 76 has historically been sort of a niche pick, but in the first week of the Countdown Cup, we've seen him quite a lot compared to the previous tournament. What do you think the value of Soldier 76 is in Countdown Cup?
I feel like it's because people play a lot of like Brig Zen, and it's not a lot of healing, and Soldier can do a lot of damage to the tanks, and they can't really get healed up unless like they have to go around and take megas, so it wastes a lot of time for them, and yeah. So
extra healing, is that the primary reason for Soldier 76?
Yeah, I mean, like, you can do a lot of damage to the tanks, and like they really can't get healed up by Brig Zen because it's really not enough healing. So
yeah, okay. Well, so talking about Soldier 76, we're sort of talking on the heroes, and my second question is your favorite hero. We've seen you today flex onto multiple heroes, ranging from Hangzhou, Torb, and McCree, and Soldier as well. So, what is your favorite hero to play in the Countdown Cup?
It's probably Torb, because I can just sit back and spam and just carry, because the hero is actually OP. Yeah, it's probably Torb. I don't know, it tilts the other team as well, playing Torb. It's just one of those heroes,
Stand back and shoot and kill. I love that answer. All right, Kai, that's it for the interview. Thank you so much for your answers, and again, big congratulations on the win again.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go back to the desk.
Thank you, Danny and Kai, and of course, congratulations to my absolute favorite team, the Atlanta Reign, which I always believed in. No one else on the desk did. Haha. Joke's on you. Either way, yeah, Torb is just one of those heroes. As we were watching this very match, Costa, and speaking of heroes, I think your main gripe here, since you were the one rooting for the Outlaws, or one of the guys here rooting for the Outlaws, your main gripe with them was the team compositions and specific hero picks. Maybe explain to the viewers what the issue was for you.
Yeah, I think Josh and Brent did a great job of highlighting it during the match, but I wanted to reiterate their point. The Outlaws came out on this Baptiste Zen a lot of the time, and it's not that bad. It is a very high damage and sustainability composition, but my problem was with Chengdu playing the Wrecking Ball in relation to that as well. Chengdu had a hard match. He was unable to get any space. Every time he's going on, he's getting Brig Bash, he's getting McCree stun. Everything is just very hard for him to do it. And then Jake and Crimzo on that Baptiste Zen don't have the tools to be able to enable him as well. Baptiste Lamp isn't very effective. It's very hard to get heals onto the Wrecking Ball as a Baptiste. And then the Zen Orb is just not enough healing, as Kai just said. So it kind of felt counterintuitive, these heroes in one setup. I would like to have either seen Chengdu move over to that Orisa or see Jake move over to that Brig, one of the two. But because they decided to stick with this and go down on this hill, they never really seemed to get any space or any control over this match. I think we talked about it as it was going on. Houston Outlaws never felt like they were in control, and that just enabled Pelican and Kai to just go absolutely sicko mode. Kai on these hit scan rolls just taking over, as he said, on all four heroes, Torb, Soldier, McCree, Hangzhou, whichever one you want him on, and Pelican making a great case for himself as Rookie of the Year as well on that Tracer. So great performance from the Atlanta Reign, but a lot left to be desired for the Houston Outlaws, which I said before this match was the best team in the West, and I regret that.
Yeah, but that's right. When we handed it over to our casters and they were asking that question, like, who is the best team in the West? My first initial reaction to that was like, well, it changes daily. And there we have it. Point proven once again. It's just, for some reason, these teams in the Countdown Cup, at least in this first week, like, one day they look amazing and you're like, maybe. And then the next day it's like, oh, never mind about that.
Well, if I could chime in here as well. I think one of the reasons that is because we're seeing some of these teams still trying to figure out the meta, and they're a bit inflexible. For example, the Paris Eternal looked fantastic on Friday, and then they go up against Punk in the Boston Uprising, and he's just shut down Naga on the Pharah, and he can't get any value whatsoever. I feel like we had a similar thing right here with the Houston Outlaws, not being able to adapt to what the Atlanta Reign and Pelican brought on that Tracer. Like, they didn't even try to help out Dante in this scenario. They didn't swap over to that Brig, so no armor packs for your Tracer. Yes, he had the Harmony Orb from the Zenyatta, but like, you're not trying to patch up this area, and so you get these very like back and forth matches where it's like one day a team looks amazing and the other day they're getting dumpstered on because they can't figure out these hero swaps. I don't want to discredit the players at all. This is a very complicated meta, okay? It's unprecedented gameplay going on right now and a lot to think through, so not in any way blaming the players, but we have a lot of weird results as a fact of there being so many variables right now in the compositions.
And you know us, we like it weird. So just keep on at it. Now, moving on to our next match of the day. Reinforce is going to toss this one to you here first again, because you predicted the Outlaws on the same basis as you are now predicting the Boston Uprising in their match today to win. Are you still feeling confident with your Uprising pick, that little endorsement you gave them earlier today?
No. I'm not confident.
Cool.
Is anyone confident
Nice
with the picks today?
No.
I'm not confident in my picks.
Actually.
And yeah, I mean, a bit disappointed in the Houston Outlaws result because I had this idea like, oh, well, they're consistent, you know, they play one type of composition. That being said though, Shock, they like to play a lot of that fire themselves. Nero can swap over to that hero. We did see some Violet Mercy yesterday as well, and we saw what Punk did to Naga on the Paris Eternal, right? So Boston Uprising, they've proven that they can deal with that Fire Mercy composition to an extent. What are we going to see besides that? I really don't think we can predict too much because these are two teams that are a little bit back and forth with the compositions. We saw Risa from the Boston Uprising. We saw Dive from the Boston Uprising. What can we expect today? I think it's going to be a bit of a back and forth matchup, but I like what I saw from Boston against Paris, and I think that could really help them today against Shock as well.
Well, we are about to find out now. First things first, though, it's time for bold predictions presented by Bringles and Bringles. They bring it though, for
Bring
sure.
The
Danny, you know, like you was that yesterday? I don't know. This week felt
Yeah, it was
long.
yesterday. It was yesterday.
You were talking about Violet on that DPS. We weren't too keen on that, but then again, like when he does play Zenyatta, it does feel like DPS. However, yesterday we also found out that if you really want to have a support DPS player, you put them on Mercy, as probably pair Jex's example. So today you're gonna go for a Violet one again. I'm
gonna give it another shot, and it's right there. Violet will get 4K on Mercy. You know, he had 2K yesterday, and then I'm pretty sure Violet, he's bloodthirsty support like Doa always likes, and you know, after seeing Jexa get the 4K, I'm pretty sure Violet's fired up. He's probably thinking, you know what, I could do better. You know, I'll get that 4K. Jexa, wait.
Get inspired by Jexa. How would you call that, Costa? Not bloodthirsty, but
sanguinary
support. Yeah, I'm expecting a sanguinary support from Violet today.
That's $1 in your big word chart today, Costa. Congratulations.
Yay, Mitch will be proud of me.
You too. Yeah, you have to share, so it's 50 cents each. Well, speaking of big word chart, actually, is a perfect transition as we're handing it over to Uber. Yeah, I can't name you in this one, Mr. X. I'm sorry.
What do you mean? I'm a frequent user of big words.
True.
Yeah, some of them have more.
I'm glad you guys
syllable,
communicate
actually.
about
it's quite impressive.
your wardrobe.
Frequent. What do you mean? That was a big word.
Yeah,
I think the wardrobes are perfectly contrasting and not at all alike.
Yeah,
that was a good joke, Johnny. Everybody's laughing hysterically that one. Yeah.
I mean, the joke is your clothing, so don't give me credit.
Oh, we love each other. Just
yeah, we're all friends.
We do, right? We do. We're all friends. We're all friends.
Something about like stage 3, stage 4, like temperatures start to fray a little bit. It becomes more than just passive aggressive. You know what I mean? That's why they've actually got us in different boxes, chat. So
it's that talent takedown looming over our heads too.
Right.
If you're not careful, Mitch, I'm gonna walk over to your box in the next segment, so be careful. I'll come over.
Whoa. You don't want him in your box.
Here we go. Let's go.
You're welcome in my box anytime, Johnny. All right, come on through, babe. All right. That's it. Give me some of those. Give me one of these, Johnny. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, mate.
Yeah, I like
Flexing
that.
again.
There we go. There we go. Thank you.
Mitch's
That's right.
shirts are getting tighter and tighter every show.
Yeah, but it's
So
not
you
my
can
fault.
flex
You know what I
some
mean?
more.
I'm just growing, Matt. You forgot how to do that at age 2. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
As
we
we
talk about the game
production.
with you.
Add some size to me, prod. Let's go.
Yeah, add some mass to Johnny if you don't mind. That's what they say. All right, we'll catch up with you guys later on because there is a little bit of a somewhat serious match to go. I mean, obviously my
It's always good to talk about the game with the desk.
Yeah, we really get to cover a lot of the stuff that just
Break
wasn't
it down
addressed
with the
beforehand
desk, yeah.
and tease out some of the really interesting narratives, unlike the fact that we're in different boxes. But here's a match, Matt, between two teams that are actually find themselves a little bit more evenly placed, at least as far as the pundits are concerned at the moment, right? The Boston Uprising started this stage, this Countdown Cup Qualifiers, in quite impressive fashion, right? They brought in like an Orisa-based composition. They looked very comfortable. We heard from Punk, and he had definitely some choice words to share. He was huge in that series on the Diva especially.
And I think just these matches, specifically today, they hold such big implications for the entire season. I know these are teams that are kind of like racing towards that top 3. I know with Atlanta beating Houston, that is a close race. Like the 8-10 marker in terms of league points is so close that the Boston Uprising, they come in 7-6. The Shock with 9 wins. Like this is a huge opportunity for Boston, a team that looks like they're potentially on the rise to maybe make an outside chance at getting that top 3 in NA. One of these teams like 8 points or something like that, finishes this tournament, let's say, with 10 wins and makes it to the Countdown Cup Hawaii and earns an extra league point there, they could find themselves in the top 3, getting a bye to the overall playoffs. That is massive for NA.
Yeah, I mean, and San Francisco on the other hand, they're hoping for a big result against the Dallas Fuel yesterday, right? They pull up just a little bit short, and we can sort of tease out some of the weaknesses that were exposed a little bit from them, especially in the later part of the series, especially when Dallas frankly served them up a map win on Hanamura here. But look, we saw Arns play a little bit more Tracer. He busted out the Widowmaker on occasion. Nero's been showing us plenty of that Farah play. We've seen plenty of interchangeability, right? Glista, who I think is like, sitting like 4th or 5th on some key Tracer stats, got moved in later in the series.
Well, that's what I was just about to mention. This is very interesting. Glister comes in for Game 5 yesterday on Lijiang Tower.
Right.
We kick off here Lijiang Tower for this series, and Ons is in. So clearly it was not like a map thing. Maybe they thought that Glister could come in and play like a Tracer that could really kind of turn the tides in that 5th and final game. But you still have the Violet Twilight support line. I think that was a plus yesterday. You see the flexibility between those two players. I know Lucio in the pool. You can play them in so many different roles. And then Smurf in terms of tank. Well, take a look over at the Boston Uprising starting lineup. Punk in terms of the off tank, right? A lot of talk was about Gebulshi when they brought him in. He started to play at the beginning, but then we've seen more and more Punk. And I think it just speaks to something we were talking about earlier in the season. Like Punk was not really an issue for this team. His play was quite well. Faith and Youngbung look great in terms of supports. The one thing different is they don't have Color Hex in the starting lineup today. They'll start things off with Valentine and 937.
And I think this is a meta where Myungbong again is positioned to be a really high impact player on this team, right? He's ranked 22nd out of 40 right now as far as IBM Watson's concerned in terms of supports. But in terms of some individual stats, he's 2nd in biotic grenade kills and 2nd in offensive assists in the entire league on that armor. So he is definitely, tilts towards the more aggressive style of Ana play here. And I don't know how that works out, when we have sort of stand one, maybe play more Orisa and some of the compositions more bunkerified. But, I mean, incredibly talented flex support player. And I think Faith is one of the best Brigitte players in the league, right? There's a few names you can think of, like Dridro as well, guys like him. But Faith is insane on that role.
You also have to remember, the power rankings by IBM Watson takes into consideration, wins and losses, right? And this Boston Uprising team was, dreadful in the Melee qualifiers. 1-3, they only win 4 maps the entire of the Melee qualifiers. So a lot of these players' individual rankings are still hurt by the fact that they played so poorly during that. I think if you kind of excluded that Melee, they probably rank much higher as they've been a team that's kind of just been progressively getting better as the season has gone on.
Needless to say, this is absolutely a match that San Francisco have to win. They came into this week sitting third, I think, in Western rankings, and well and truly in like the auto into playoffs zone. The loss to Dallas definitely casts a little bit of doubt over that, but they're still at 9-4. You think of some of their like potential rivals, right? So, like the Atlanta Reign, they're really starting to nip at their heels. I think they're 9-5. Yeah, they're 9-5 now themselves.
Yep.
Teams like Boston can very quickly find themselves again in that 9-5 sort of bracket. So San Francisco cannot afford to take their foot off the gas right now, but they're going up against a really dangerous foe, a Boston Uprising who seem right at home here in the Countdown Cup's hero pools.
Now, specifically when you talk about the overall season playoff push, one of those teams, like you mentioned, that's right on the Shock's tail in terms of having that guaranteed spot in the Western region. They end up going to Hawaii and earn a elite point or two, and they're in, right? And you're in a spot with the Shock where now you're fighting to just get into the playoffs. Where they have had a good regular season, but you can start to see now that not making it to Hawaii for an opportunity for those extra points have really hurt them. So it'll be the Shock come out on a Wrecking Ball composition, same as the Boston Uprising. Boston, though, will play the Sombra Tracer dive with the Zenyatta in play.
Worth bearing in mind, first time these two teams are taking each other's measure so far in the 2021 season. And a good start here for the Shock. Arns has locked the legs and he's been able to find Faith. The Uprising choose to group up inside that left side room, which makes him susceptible to Helix Rocket and also to the Wrecking Ball play. Stan 1 also trying to show what he's made of. Nero really has to get away from Punk. Punk was instrumental for Boston in shutting down airborne threats in their previous match.
Yeah, and it's going to be the Boston Uprising get onto the point here first. Is Nero just trying to get in and get a touch, but it'll be Boston who's able to actually get control as Smurf has to get off it because he's hacked. Obviously can't stand on the point much longer when he has no option to use any of his abilities. So Boston, although it's a little bit of a dirty fight at the start, they'll get control of the point first. Choi will get a mick back, but they're going to be walking right into this EMP.
Boston here have a decent understanding of where the Shock are looking to come from now. Cursor, a look over towards White Room, sees most of San Francisco group there, and that's good for I'm37. A nice, closely packed team. Shock together like sardines means this EMP. Easy enough to hit, but okay, he has to go for it now. He gets detected. He's able to catch 4 with that one, crucially. And Twilight is one of them that is affected. So, no biotic grenade, no burst healing, really. And it's an easy cleanup for Boston, but they spammed into it.
Yeah, I mean, they use the minefield, and they end up using EMP there. Obviously, 2 pretty key ultimates, as Punk putting a lot of pressure up on Nero in the skies. Nero's done a nice job just putting down damage. It's just Boston has just kind of pushed through, found targets, and not really kind of had to deal with the Pharah that much. The damage from the Pharah from San Francisco hasn't been followed up on yet.
Yeah, the other half of that, equation is Arns, right? Completing those kills as Soldier, or at least getting involved in the chip damage fights. But the Transcendence is very timely here from Myeongbong, with Twilight dying after he deploys the nano boost. There's no chance to shut down the Transcendence with a biotic grenade. And this is bad for San Francisco. They are falling further and further behind. Nero gets caught on his own with a Discord Orb, and I mean, a cheeky attempt at a Resurrect could have been there for Violet, but he's better off giving it up.
Well, he can't actually, because Violet actually gets hacked during that, so no opportunity to get the hack off. He's lucky to even just get back on the map. The Shock end up flipping the point here, and that'll be an EMP for I'm37 trying to flip the point back to Boston.
Stan 1 gonna go back and grab the Mega Health Pack and return to the fight. Now the barrage for Nero has to be big, and getting rid of Punk is pretty decent value, but there's got to be more here. Nero keeps the point contested by popping back into the window now, and Faith has to rally because of the damage coming in from the Rockets. Good cleanup from I'm37 now, and Smurf can only stall this point out a little longer. The Discord Orb from Myeongbong, such a menace here.
And if you're San Francisco, when you kind of look at the damage dealers that are in the game, can you even kind of match this type of composition? We've seen Ons in the past, he can play the Tracer or the Sombra, well, right? We see mostly the Sombra. It's really like Nero, right? If you have him play the Tracer, can he kind of live up to the kind of billing of some of the better Tracers in the league? You may have to put Glycerin in some of these scenarios if you want to run this.
Well, that's the question. Nero's Tracer, can it make the difference here? Valentine is looking right at home right now. Okay, Minefield's going to make it very hard for the Shock to get to the point, and I'm37 goes forward. He gets the EMP at the right timing. He trades, though. Nero's able to pick him up just after he deploys that ultimate, but it's all Boston all the time right now. Wrecking Ball onto the point here as Smurf is going to try and keep things going. He gets a nano boost as well. So the Uprising give him a wide berth. They respect the damage increase the ball now has, but then they just come straight back in, and that's a cringe on the face of Smurf. He realizes it was wishful thinking in the first place. What a start for the Uprising.
Well, they use the Nano and Tac Visor at the same time in Minefield on that side of the point, and Boston just sits on the other side of the pillar. There's no reason for them to go back around and engage. They have control of the point. So all those ultimates there for the shot go for nothing, and they just come back with a Transcendence from Myungbong and push right on through and end up taking the point. So Boston looks really good, kind of picking up where they left off.
I'm 37 getting a ton of value that last round. Oh, that's over the edge. That's, oh man. He almost, in fairness, did the same to Smurf. Hacked him, and Stan 1 almost knocked him off the edge. I'm 37 also getting a disproportionate number of final blows on the Sombra in that round, completing a lot of the kills that Valentine was setting up.
So
He's looking dangerous.
The Shock went with this yesterday when we watched them. They went to the Widowmaker at times, where this point's not exactly great for the Wrecking Ball. That Boston's going to run double hit scan, 76 and McCree. So far, it's not working out. You know, On's not able to find anything in terms of like line of sight. But Nero and Violet doing the work on the point.
Yeah, they can't stay on this. It's such a good matchup for Arns on the Widowmaker on a map that you otherwise wouldn't probably see much of him played. So I'm 37 and Valentine decide no, back to the double flanker. The Tracer Sombra play was very good last round. And San Francisco eventually might be put in a position where Arns feels a lot less safe than he did before.
It's a lot easier of a dive target now, right, on the Widowmaker, as opposed to the 76. Obviously, 76 with the sprint being able to kind of get out of situations.
Punk again goes for a drive-by. Nero, though, doesn't want any of it. He's close to a barrage already, so a lot of good chip damage from him early in this round. We're looking for, I mean, we really are looking for M37 to find a crucial hack here, or Valentine to really punish. Something has to happen here for the Boston Uprising. Nero is pretty safe, and Punk's not being able to access him. All right, so it's Stan 1 getting a knockoff kill on Violet. That's pretty massive as far as opening up the fight goes, and Nero gets chased by Punk. He waits, got patience from the D.Va player. Lovely take from the Uprising.
And Punk has played so good thus far. I know right there, we saw a little bit of a clip of it from Nero's POV, but Punk turning around backwards, using the defense matrix to protect Myungbong as he's trying to walk towards the point, and then just being able to track the Pharah in the sky as the Shock. You know, they now make a compositional change as well. They'll go to the McCree with the Torbjorn and keep Iris in the mix, so a very slow composition here for San Francisco, but they're able to get a pick early.
Good start for San Francisco now. The ever-present threat, the Sombra in the back line, being removed from the equation for the time being. A Valentine's Pulse Bomb being removed means that the flankers for the Uprising have a huge job to do right now. Valentine trying to attack some of Troy Gobin's defense matrix there, but Stan 1 gets absolutely blown up. I'm37 pushes very aggressively here with the EMP and catches a lot of players, but the Uprising can't filter through the small doorway quickly enough. They get rid of Twilight, but the Shock is still working with 5. Nero trades for Fate, and that's a hack on Troy Hoban, so he just has to straight up run away. But guess who's there? Yes, Stan 1's back in the fray. A gigantic pile driver on an already struggling San Francisco. Shock seals the deal.
Oh, and Stan 1 goes into contest and barely gets the minefield off. And the minefield kind of pushes the Shock to the back of the point, and Boston's able to run on in. They have the rally. The supercharge is used by Smurf, but it's a big EMP from Mine 37 that allows them to just push through that and use the rally to just put pressure on the back of the point and clear San Francisco out.
Pulse Bomb here is important. Turret already trained on Valentine. He's not able to find anything there. Punk desuited. Of course, Molten Core going to make it pretty hard for him to touch the point right now. He's lost his mech in his life. So San Francisco looking pretty comfortable. I don't even know if they had to use Immortality Field there. It's unclear what the response to the Pulse Bomb was. There was no kill of the Immortality Field on the feed, so it's unclear. Either way, Amp Matrix here for Violet. Also Rally for Twilight. This is the Shocker in a comfortable spot now. The Uprising have to get a ton done with this Transcendence EMP.
Yeah, you're trying to play around the, an offensive Transcendence, right? Push on through, maybe you get a big EMP. It'll be a self-destruct that launches in first at the start of fight. That'll deal with the Torb turret.
EMP thrown out there. All of San Francisco affected, but it's going to be Fate going down to the self-destruct. Okay, Amplification Matrix thrown up in the main atrium here, and Trigobin's just trying to protect his teammates for now. They've lost Smurf, so he really needs to step up and do a lot of the damage mitigation. doing his best, but it's not enough. Myeonbong still finds a way through the lattice and takes Arns down. Another one for Myeonbong here. He is a problem for sure. He's playing on the front line right now because he wants it more. The Uprising trying to filter through. Valentine unsuccessful in his backline foray. The turret managed to sniff him out. And Nero finds yet another one. This time it's Myeonbong, ever the aggressor. He finally falls. And the San Francisco Shock even it up here on Night Markets.
Yeah, when Boston tries to push on in, Choyobin actually, when the EMP, right before it comes out, he actually launches a defensive self-destruct, pretty much just launching it right on top of the rest of the Shock. And he connects with one player, but it also deters the Boston Uprising from being able to push on through and get on the point, which is exactly the type of action they were playing for at that time. So really nice self-destruct there from Choi. The Shock battle back with a pretty defensive comp there with the Torbjorn and the McCree in the mix.
We got to see Valentine's POV a few times. It was pretty clear that it was difficult for him to get much done there. Now this happened. Oh, the roof. Oh, I see this because there's some snapping that occurs with the power driver there, right? Usually you can get back on the ledge. Asking famed ball player Matt Morello, of course.
Yeah, no, I look. My wrecking ball is it's not my go-to, I would say.
Gotcha. More of a reserve choice, you know.
Yeah, it's more of a reserve choice, you know, just to get some priority passes, throw some DPS.
Like every other person.
Yeah, throw some loud music on, play wrecking ball, you know.
Yes, he's ranked, chat. I'm 37 on the Hangzhou here. All right, well, this Hangzhou pressure already being felt. I think Smurf's first barrier gets blown up, but this little podium position's quite nice for the Shock. It gives them pretty good sight lines for their own Hangzhou, which is Arns, who almost gets caught in a halt. He's playing a little far away from the rest of his team. Let's see if that positioning pays off. It's aggressive for sure. Amplification Matrix already built up here. Twilight got it early, but he got an arrow between his eyes as well. The trade is there, though. Faith, again, removed pretty early on in the fight. And I'm37 trying to do his darndest here. He's got good shield pressure, but when it comes to harassing Nero, he may be lacking.
It just, can you get an angle with this far to make enough impact? This Valentine connects it 2 with attack visor. Nice shot from Onsto coming on in from the side. As the Shock somehow able to turn this, it looked like Boston was going to be able to hold on to the point for a while there. They ended up using their own Amp Matrix towards the end of that fight. So it looks like Boston wants to come back in and fight this pretty aggressively, but I think that's going to be what you're going to have to look at. Can Nero stay alive on the far, take these angles that prevent Valentine from just kind of plucking him out of the sky and also getting the chip damage necessary?
Yeah, the Uprising try and do a bunch of different things with that composition.
Oh, okay.
Do they go back to Tracer Sombra here? Okay. Yeah. I mean, the Shock don't have the Torbjorn. They don't have, like, the really hostile elements against that double flanker setup. But you hope I'm37 can build an EMP pretty quick, Matt.
And how do they access this platform safely? Like you mentioned, the Shock kind of playing on that back platform here. You kind of have the Pharah looking over everybody. Can you access this? That's going to be a conk that forces a translocate right away.
I mean, there's a translocate and a recall. So both of the aggressive elements there of the Uprising had to pull the plug on that whole escapade.
Way downtown there with that rocket barrage. I mean,
we've seen some this weekend.
So Reinforce would say that's from the logo. Like Steph Curry range.
Right. Choyobin hit with the pile driver there briefly. His eyes, though, were only for his backline. Great awareness there. Straight to Nero, who's hit with a Discord Orb. Myeonbong would have been a problem for him, but that unfortunately leaves Arns unprotected. Damned if you do, and if you don't against a team like Boston, I suppose. Faith again drops early in this fight. It's a tough life out there for the Brig against the Pharah, but it's looking pretty good after Punk sets that self-destruct up nicely, catches Twilight out. And the Uprising had to win that fight there. They're back in control, but they need to maintain it now.
And the Shock, they go back to the composition that we just saw them run. That worked out quite well with the Risa, the Torbjorn, the McCree, now Twilight playing the Brigitte. It's just, I feel like this point may be a little bit harder for them to break through, right? There's not as much of like a hard choke here.
See how they deal with stand 1, especially here? I mean, big stun we just saw there. That was a flashbang on more than one. Valentine left a gift there for Arns. And he walked straight over it, so that'll be probably the fight over already for San Francisco. They've got a bit of time to work with, and McCree is important to them here. I mean, an EMP would make things much worse. The power driver, definitely not pleasant. Most of the Shock can get away from it, but Choyobin was not nearly as lucky. The immortality field being removed means that's a dead Diva.
you can just see how Boston playing right now with control of the point, how much better of a point, map this is for Wrecking Ball being in control of the objective, right? On the last one, it was very difficult for them to make anything happen. I mean, you see all the different routes that you can use with the Wrecking Ball, the Sombra here, that make it very difficult for the Shock to continue to run this. This will be a supercharger from the Shock. Just trying to clear some space, maybe trying to set up some real estate on the point.
Right, Bongo's down already. EMP comes out here on a 3. The Immortality Field is still going to be in play, and so is the Transcendence from Myeongbong. He brings that one in, and the Uprising use Transcendence just to get aggressive behind. It allows them to take position without getting blown up instantly. Nero gonna have to supercharge himself there in the backline because Stand1 is not leaving. Here's the Molten Core to try and punish those tanks that are so desperately trying to harry the backline, and they've gotten rid of 37 here. Self-destruct over the top, but Twilight's rally is really going to help things for the Shock now. Another big pulse bomb, but it's going to be shut down. Twilight's able to deal with Valentine, and that was the Immortality Field. Somehow Violet had the nerve to hold on to that key cooldown for as long as he did, and that's what lets the Shock deal with the bomb that was well placed. In fairness, it's 87 to 99.
And I think if Stand1's pile driver comes a little bit earlier, when Punk's bomb comes in, they probably get like 1 or 2 kills off of that. The placement was good. They just needed a little bit of a knock-up to put players within the line of sight. As Stand1 trying to get out, barely staying alive here.
I mean, the Shock defended their turret like it was one of their own. You'd love to see that. Oh my! What a shot from Ours in midair. Valentine didn't know what hit him. The amplification matrix, meaning that the body shot was enough to be lethal. Punk has to quickly turn tail and get away, but I don't think Faith is going to be as fortunate. He's already out of the picture. Arance, he can taste the blood. He's going for more. Punk desuited and taken down now, and that'll be that. Map number 1 goes